Hello, hi y'all, welcome back to Ghosts and Glitter. My name's Rachel, and today I'm gonna just talk about the 23 books I want to read in 2023. Ideally, these would all be books off of my shelf, so I could start getting stuff, picking stuff off the shelf that I own, but they're not because I'm not near my shelves. This is kind of a random list. It's filled with books that are a continuation of a series, books that are the start of a series, books that I have been looking at and hearing things about for years, maybe. Books that kind of make me go, why the hell haven't I read this yet? Yeah, let's get into it. This is in no particular order. These are not categorized in any way. This is just the list I came up with and then I sat down. First on the list, this might be subconsciously in an order because this is the thing I am most excited about this year. This is a 2023 release and it is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. It is the sequel to my favorite book of last year, maybe all time, My Heart is a Chainsaw. This is coming out actually in February, so I know I'm going to read this year. This isn't even like a challenge. Like once that book is in my hand, everything else goes away. I don't really know a ton of what this is about. I think it's about Jade coming back to Proof Rock and there being a serial killer on the loose, I think. I don't really care. It's the sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw. Next up on the list, this is kind of an obscure book. I had never heard of it. This was gifted to me by my best friend for Christmas. Not last year, the year before. I'm really bad at reading books on my shelves, y'all. This is a really thin book that I have on my shelf at home. It is called Chasing Homer, and it is it's written by a Hungarian author. His name is, let me look. His name is László Krasznahorkai, with John Batki as the translator. This is a super skinny book. It's really just has been described as like a chase thriller. I remember when I looked through it when it was gifted to me, it looked kind of stream of consciousness. There was not a lot of punctuation in there. And the other cool thing about this is there's little QR codes throughout the book that you can scan and it links you to music that was written for the book. So it's a multimedia experience. I really need to read that this year because when it was gifted to me, I was so intrigued and I geeked out over it. And then I put it on my shelf. Maybe that's my mistake. Maybe I should only put books that I've actually read on my shelf. Anyway, that is number 2. Number 3, this is a continuation in a series that I started last year. I am dying to read Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston. I read Amari and the Night Brothers last year and I loved it. I'm just waiting to purchase the physical copy of Amari and the Great Game, and I'm waiting on the paperback to come out because that is what I have of Amari and the Night Brothers and they need to match. So as soon as I get my hands on the paperback of that, I will be devouring that as well. Next up is The Fisherman by John Langan. This is kind of a slow burn horror novel that I have heard wonderful things about. It has a beautiful cover. I think it is about grief exploration, I want to say. The synopsis, when I read over it, reminded me of something that could be a Stephen King synopsis, but I've just heard wonderful things. I really have. So I need to get to that this year. Next up, this is definitely a book that I feel like I've heard people talk about for years. Another horror book. It is called The Troop by Nick Cutter. I'm sure you've heard of it if you are a horror person. When I heard about it, I got really excited. I heard there was a lot of body horror, which is right up my alley, and then I didn't read it. So I will be reading The Troop this year. Next up, another author that I've wanted to get to for a while and have yet to read is Tananarive. I want to start out with her book, The Good House. I love a haunted house story, especially one that explores more than just a haunted house story. I think it would be a good place to start, even though it's pretty chunky. Yeah, I really want to get to The Good House. Next up is yet another horror book. So in my goals for 2023 video, I gave a list of authors that I wanted to read more of. Ania Ahlborn is one of those authors. So I really want to read The Shuddering by Ania Ahlborn. All I know is that it's a creature feature, and I love creature features when they're done right, and I feel like she will do them right. So yeah, that is the Ania Ahlborn that I definitely want to get to today. Next up, I want to read Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters. I read Fingersmith last year by her. It was my first Sarah Waters, and now I want to read everything by her, and I've heard wonderful things about Tipping the Velvet. This is a historical fiction set in kind of a I believe most of her books are set in kind of a Dickensian London setting. I could be wrong. And yeah, I know it's historical fiction and it's sapphic, and I know I love her writing, so I mean. Number 9, I must read The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This is the third and final book in the Poppy War trilogy. I love the first 2 books. I've read them multiple times. I need to bite the bullet and finish the freaking trilogy. Next up is Full Moon by Jen Butcher. This is the second book in the Dresden Files. The Dresden Files was on my list of series that I want to continue this year. I read the first book in this series like 3 years ago, I want to say. Maybe it was just 2. Really enjoyed it. Want to keep reading it. Number 11, Rise of the Evening Star by Brandon Mull. This is the second book in the Fablehaven middle grade series. I loved the first book. I think the series was recommended to me by one of my good friends from college. She grew up with it, I did not, and she loved it, so I grabbed the first book at a used bookstore and fell in love. This is about 2 siblings. They go to visit their grandparents' house in the woods and find out that their grandparents take care of a magical realm. They're like groundskeepers of a magical realm. And I love that entire premise. Obviously, the first book is the kids figuring all of this out and going on a little adventure. And I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes. Number 12 is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shannon McGuire. This is the third book in the Wayward Children series. I've read the first 2 and I love them. These are really short books about children going through a portal basically into a world that is more accommodating to and accepting of who they are as people, more or less. Like I said, I read the first 2 and I really enjoyed them, so I'm excited to keep going with the series and just see more of these characters, because I think Shannon McGuire has such beautiful, atmospheric, almost fairy tale like writing, and it makes me feel so cozy. And yeah, that is number 12. Number 13 is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. Again, this was on my list of like series that I wanted to start in my previous video. This is a middle grade. I'm sure most people know what The Golden Compass or his Dark Materials series is about. I kind of do. I saw the movie that everyone hated. I'm excited to finally get into this beloved series because I think I'm gonna really enjoy it. These next 2 that I'm about to talk about are kind of like, yeah, we'll see. So the first one is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. This is a huge epic fantasy series. I honestly, I don't 100% know what it's about because there's a lot happening. I've also been playing a lot of Skyrim, so if I start saying words, it's probably not words from the Wheel of Time series. It's probably words from Skyrim. I want to attempt to read the first book, see how I like it. I haven't seen the TV show. I don't know, obviously, a ton about the series. Can you tell? But I am still interested. I feel like this is loved by many, also not loved by many. I'm curious to see what I think. Number 15, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. If you recognize this name, you might recognize her as the author of Priory of the Orange Tree. I have not read it. I have not read anything by her. The size of the Priory of the Orange Tree does scare me a little bit. So I thought, let's rewind and read her backlist, which is a series. The Bone Season is the first in a series. I know this is futuristic, but I also feel like it might be fantasy-ish. I don't think it's sci-fi. I know that it takes place in London and has to do with the criminal underworld. So that sounds really yummy for me. That sounds right up my alley. So I'm curious about her, and yeah, we'll see if that one happens. I hope it does. Number 16 is The Very Secret Society of, from of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. I've read that this is a super cozy book with found family elements and witchiness, and that just sounds super sweet and fun. I do own it. It's just not here. So, I would like to get to it since I own it. And I think it would be a good reprieve between some of the more intense books that I have on this list. Because as I'm going through it, I'm realizing that is a lot of intensity, whether it be with horror or just thick fantasy. The next book I would like to get to this year is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is a super popular sci-fi fantasy series. I think it was a trilogy, but now I think it got like expanded into a series. But I've heard really good things. I'm wanting to read more sci-fi this year. And I also own this book, so I mean, I feel like I should be able to get to it. Next on the list is And Then I Woke Up by Malcolm Devlin. This was on my list last year of a book that I really needed to read by the end of the year. Did I do that? No, I did not. This is also another book that I own. I feel like it has something to do either with zombies or possession, or maybe both. I'm not sure. I love the cover, and she's small, so I feel like I should be able to read it, and I know that's what I said last year, and I still didn't do it, but maybe. All right, the next book that I want to get to this year is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. Did I also say I was going to read that last year? Yes, I did, absolutely. Do I love this author? Yes, I do, absolutely. I adored The Year of the Witching. This is, like I said, the same author of The Year of the Witching, but instead of about witches, this is about vampires. The next book I want to get to is Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. I've heard that it's super creepy, and just based off the cover, it looks super creepy. So yeah, I really want to get to this because I feel like if I don't get to it this year, I'm gonna like lose interest because I've been looking at it for so long. Number 21, yet another book that I own that I said I was going to read last year and then I did not, From Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I love Ruta Sepetys' work. She's a historical fiction writer. She writes for a YA audience, but her books are so good. To call it YA, I feel like a lot of adult readers that don't traditionally read YA would just discount it. Please don't discount any book because it says YA on it, but particularly Ruta Sepetys' work is wonderful. She writes about historical events that aren't really covered that much, if at all, in class. I have been wanting to read From Salt to the Sea for a while, and this is the year. Next up is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I haven't read all of his stuff, but I've read most of his stuff, and I really enjoy his writing. I enjoy his sense of humor, and yeah, this is his newest book. It's his take on a haunted house about a family whose relative, I don't remember who, but a relative of theirs passes away, and they're trying to sell the house, and it's not going great. I think they're supposed to be creepy puppets, which I love a creepy doll. So yeah, I'm hoping that this will be a good time. I'm hoping to read Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I have read one book by her. It was a short story novella-ish thing that Amazon put out. I forget the name of the story that she wrote, but I loved her writing, and I've heard beautiful things about this book, so I want to read this book. Okay, those are the 23 books that I want to read in 2023. I am fascinated how many of these that by the end of the year I will have actually read. I'm hoping for half, because I have middle grade on here and I have short books on here. So I'm hoping I at least check those off. I'm not expecting myself to read The Eye of the World. I would like to believe that I will, but I'm not expecting that of myself. Mostly so I can be pleasantly surprised if I do it. So yeah, obviously the 23 books are the goal, but my realistic goal in my head, so I don't get overwhelmed, is that I'll read 15 of them, a little over half. How about that? 15? Can I read 15 of my 23? With that, I hope y'all have a great day, a great rest of your week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to follow my journey on reading these 23 books. Let me know in the comments like what books that you really want to read this year, that are just calling to you. They can be 2023 releases, they can be backlists that you just haven't gotten to yet. I'd love to know. And yeah, I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.